The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Admiral Zexathara's forearms gestured dramatically toward the holographic display. The assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds watched as Earth rotated slowly in the blue-tinged projection, seemingly peaceful and insignificant. "This," the reptilian admiral hissed, "is why we must strike now, before the humans spread further into our galaxy." Alexander Chen, humanity's youngest diplomatic attaché, sat rigid in his chair beside Ambassador Nora Williams. At 26, he had seen enough political maneuvering to recognize a setup, but the scale of this gathering was unprecedented. Every major species in the Galactic Empire was represented, their alien forms creating a bizarre tapestry of scales, chitin, and exotic flesh tones under the chamber's artificial lighting. "The humans have colonized 17 systems in less than 50 standard cycles," Admiral Zexathara continued, his serpentine tongue flicking between words. "Their expansion rate exceeds anything we've seen from a newly contacted species. They must be contained before what?" Nora interrupted, rising from her seat with the practiced grace of a seasoned diplomat. Her voice carried clearly through the chamber's acoustics. "Before we demonstrate that cooperation yields better results than conquest." A chorus of chittering, growling, and electronic translations filled the air as representatives voiced their disapproval. Alexander noticed how their hostility seemed rehearsed, as if this confrontation had been planned long before humanity's delegation arrived. General Thokmar of the Vrex Dominion stepped forward, his massive frame casting shadows across the chamber floor. The Vrex were warriors by nature, their carapaced bodies built for combat, but Alexander had read the intelligence reports. Despite their fearsome appearance, they had never encountered a species quite like humanity. "Ambassador Williams," General Thokmar's voice resonated through his chest cavity, "your species has proven aggressive in their expansion. We have observed your military capabilities, your weapons technology, your tactical adaptability. These traits concern us." Nora smiled, an expression that didn't reach her eyes. "General, I'm curious about your intelligence reports. Have your scouts actually observed our homeworld?" "Of course," Admiral Zexathara interjected. "Standard reconnaissance protocols. From orbit, I assume." Alexander stood beside Nora, his voice cutting through the Admiral's response. "Long-range scans, atmospheric analysis, maybe some intercepted communications." The chamber's temperature seemed to drop several degrees. General Thokmar's mandibles clicked nervously. "Such methods are adequate for most species, but not for Deathworlders," Nora said quietly. The word hung in the air like a curse. Alexander watched as several representatives physically recoiled, their various appendages drawing closer to their bodies in unconscious defensive gestures. "Impossible." Admiral Zexathara's voice cracked slightly. "The gravitational index, atmospheric composition, radiation levels, all within acceptable parameters for carbon-based life." "Define acceptable," Alexander challenged. General Thokmar's six eyes focused on the human delegation with newfound intensity. "The gravitational constant measures 9.8 meters per second squared. Standard deviation from galactic mean is minimal." "Standard deviation," Nora repeated. "General, what's the strongest gravity world that any member species of this empire calls home?" The silence stretched uncomfortably long before a crystalline being from the Zephyrian collective responded. "The Vrex homeworld maintains 7.2 meters per second squared. It is considered challenging." Alexander felt a cold smile cross his features. "Earth is 30% stronger than your most difficult world, and we consider it normal. But gravity is just the beginning. Our atmospheric pressure," Nora continued, pacing slowly before the assembled representatives, "would crush the respiratory systems of 60% of the species in this chamber. The oxygen concentration that we require for basic survival is toxic to most carbon-based life forms. Our planet," Alexander picked up the thread, "experiences temperature variations that range from -40 to +50 degrees Celsius in inhabited areas. We have regions that reach 70 degrees where humans not only survive but thrive." General Thokmar's voice had become a whisper. "The scouts reported temperature anomalies, but we assumed they were measurement errors. We share our world." Nora's voice grew harder, "with predators that would terrify your worst nightmares. Creatures with enough venom to kill an elephant, cats that hunt for sport, pack hunters with bite forces exceeding your most advanced military exoskeletons. And the humans learned to hunt them back, Alexander added. We made tools from their bones, clothing from their hides, and medicines from their poisons. The chamber was now utterly silent except for the soft hum of life support systems working overtime to maintain comfortable conditions. For dozens of different atmospheric requirements, our planet tries to kill us, Nora said simply. The weather systems generate storms that could power your entire fleet. Tectonic activity reshapes continents. Volcanic eruptions blot out the sun for years at a time. Solar radiation that would sterilize most worlds barely gives us a suntan. Every disaster you can imagine, Alexander continued. Earthquake, tsunami, hurricane, drought, flood, plague. Ice Age, humanity has survived them all. Not just survived, but thrived, multiplied, and spread to every corner of our world. No matter how hostile, General Thokmar's carapace had taken on a pale coloration that Alexander's briefings had identified as extreme distress among the Vrex. Your expansion rate makes sense now, doesn't it? Nora asked gently. When you're adapted to survive on a world that actively tries to kill you, most other environments seem positively welcoming by comparison. Admiral Zexithera's forearms had drawn close to his body in a defensive posture. The Council should consider partnership, Alexander suggested. Humanity doesn't seek conquest. We seek challenge, exploration, and growth. We've learned that cooperation and adaptation yield better results than warfare. But if you choose war, Nora's voice carried the quiet confidence of absolute certainty. Remember that you would be fighting a species that learned to survive in hell, found it comfortable, and called it home. The vote, when it came, was unanimous. Humanity's expansion would continue unimpeded, but now as partners rather than potential threats. As the representatives filed out in unusual silence, General Thokmar approached the human delegation. Ambassador Williams, he said quietly, I have a request. My people have always prided themselves on being warriors. Perhaps we could learn from yours? Nora smiled, this time with genuine warmth. General, we'd be honored to share what we've learned. After all, the best warriors are those who never have to fight. Alexander watched the Vrex general depart with thoughtful steps, already planning training exchanges and cultural programs. Humanity had won its place in the galaxy not through superior firepower, but by revealing the simple truth of what it meant to be human. Sometimes the greatest weapon was simply being yourself.